Hello, in this video lesson I'm going to show you how to use the Actions palette to speed up your photo fixing workflow. For example, let's say you had a series of similarly composed shots like these ones here. You might want to open a shot and crop it to lose some of the space at the top of the frame, and you might also want to resize the shot at the same time so you can have a specific print size. Now if you need to do that to multiple similar images, then you can record the edit as an action with the first photograph and then apply it to all of the other shots in a click. And that will save you loads and loads of editing time. So I'm going to drag Actions Before 07 from my mini bridge into the main workspace here. You could also go to File, Open and browse to that image. And before I start creating my action, I'm just going to go up to Photoshop's Preferences and I'm going to go to Units and Rulers, and we're going to set the default from centimeters down to inches because this is a typical print size measurement, inches rather than centimeters, and we're going to create our 5x7 inch print. Now, the next thing to do is just to check the size of the image before we edit it. You can see we go to Image Size, that it's 11 by 17 inches, so it's much larger than the 5 by 7 inch size we're going to end up with when we crop the shot. To make more space to work in, I've closed the mini bridge for the moment, and we can now go to Window and choose Actions, and up pops the Actions palette. And here you can see a folder of default actions. If we click here to open that, it's got a variety of actions that will change the image if we click on any of these options and hit play, but none of these are particularly useful for photo fixing. So I'm going to click here to minimize that, and we're going to create our own set of more useful image editing actions. And to do that, we click on the little folder icon here, and up pops this window here, and we can call this set Photo Fixes. And we could put fixes in here that will change color, tone, or even add creative effects like a vignetted corner, for example. So click OK, and you'll see your little folder icon appears in the Actions palette. We're now ready to click here to create our new cropping and resizing action. So click there, and we can then label this something like crop and resize. And we can choose a particular size as well, like 5 by 7 inches, so you could crop and resize at different resolutions if you needed to, and create an action for each cropping option. That's going to go into the Photo Fixes set. You can also add a function key and a color to it. I'm just going to add a red color, and you'll see what color does later on. And the next thing we're ready to do is to click record and then crop and resize our image and turn that into an action that we can then apply in a single click. So let's hit record, and off we go. And you can see the record light is red in the Actions palette. Now don't feel under any pressure when you see the recording icon is lit, because it's not recording the time it takes to make the changes, it's just recording the changes you make to the image. So you could go and have a cup of tea in the middle of creating your action, and it will still play back pretty instantly when you come to press the play button to reapply the action to a new image. So now everything we do is going to be recorded as an action. So let's go up to the crop tool here, let's change it from original ratio down to size and resolution, and here we've got the option to type in a width of 5 inches by a height of 7 inches and a resolution of 200 pixels per inch. You can always change these measurements here by clicking to adjust them if they're on the default centimeters, for example, and that creates a custom crop at the exact size we need. So let's click OK, and we can then grab this crop window handle here and drag it to lose some of the corner at the top left, some of the space up here, and some of the space at the left of the image, and that looks a little bit more balanced, a little bit tighter, so we can hit the return key to apply the crop, and you can see that's been recorded as an action. And now we've finished recording the action, we can click here to stop recording, and there we have our action in the Photo Fixes set. Now let me just check the image size is accurate by going to Image Size, and it should be at 5 by 7 inches at 200 pixels per inch. That's absolutely perfect. I can go Z for the zoom tool, right click, and choose Fit on Screen, and here's our cropped image that's been resized and the composition's been improved. I can go back to Browse in Mini Bridge, and we can look at a similar shot like Actions Before 01. Again, there's a bit of space at the top there, so what we can do is double click to open that one up in Photoshop, and then we can go to the action and click on it, and then click here to play the action, and that automatically crops and resizes the shot. Let me just right click that, Fit on Screen, and I'll show you the image size of that has been changed as well to 5 by 7 inches. And as many of our shots have got a similar composition, we can double click to open them and then click on the play button when we've got crop and resize selected here, and that will then lose some of the edge of the frame and resize them to 5 by 7 inches. So that is actually a very handy way of taking similarly composed shots like these ones here and cropping and resizing them in a click. Now we could try and apply the crop to this shot here, actions before 09, but because she's moved to the left, we're going to crop out the edge of her hands if we apply the action as it is. So what we can do is click here to turn on the toggle option, and then click here to play the action. It's now giving us the crop window, and it's going to resize it at 5:7, as you can see here, but we can fine tune things by just dragging them around like so, and then hit return to apply the fine-tuned cropped version. We're now going to create an action that's going to produce a more creative effect like this, in which we've cooled down the color temperature, we've also increased the contrast as well, and we've added a gentle vignette to the corners of the frame. And you can see here in the layers palette there's quite a lot of things going on. I'm going to show you how to create an action that enables you to produce this effect much more quickly than having to create all of these adjustment layers step by step. So let's open up Actions before 06. And we'll then get the Actions panel open by going to Window, Actions, and we're ready to create our new image editing action by clicking here. Let's call this one Color, Contrast, and Vignette, just to describe what the action does nice and clearly. We can save that in the Photo Fixes action option, or we could create our new set if we liked, and we can also apply a color to that as well. You could also trigger the action by using a function key like F1 combined with a shift key, and that would apply the action to the image in a keyboard shortcut, but I'm going to just use the play button here when I finish creating my action. So let's click record to start doing that now. And the little red record light is on, so let's create a new levels adjustment layer to alter the contrast of our shot. Let me just drag the white input level slider left to brighten up the highlights, take that to around about 231, and we can drag the midtone slider left as well to lighten those midtones to around about 1.15, and click here to close that. We've now improved the contrast using an adjustment layer. We can also cool down now the warm color temperature by clicking here and adding another adjustment layer. Let's go to the photo filter option. And here we can choose a cooling down option like cooling filter 82, and that cools the shot down to more realistic looking skin tones, but it's a little bit too cool there, so let's just reduce the density down to around about 19 so it's not quite as dramatic. Click here to close that adjustment layer window. Now to create our darkened vignetted corners, we're going to click on the background layer here and press Command J or Control J to float this as a copy, and then change the blending mode of the copy to multiply, and there's our darkened corners based on the photograph's original colours. Now we could just draw a vignette and delete the vignette to keep the darkened corners and lighten up the rest of the shot, but the vignette effect that you draw with the elliptical marquee tool might not be the same for every photograph, so we're going to give people the option to actually draw their own vignette, and to do that you need to click here and choose Insert Stop, and that will stop the action and give you a recorded instruction for you to follow to create your own specific effect. You can then type in a message like draw a feathered elliptical marquee to define the vignetted edges, and that lets you stop the action in mid-flow and draw something that's customized to suit the particular image you're applying the action to. Then click OK to carry on editing. Now don't worry about drawing the elliptical marquee at this stage, because we're going to do that when we play back the action to suit the contents of the image. What we're going to do now is click on background copy and add a layer mask by clicking here, then click on the mask and press Command or Control and I to invert it, and that creates an opposite version of the marquee, so the corners will be darkened and the center of the image will be nice and visible. You'll see that in just a tick when we apply the action to our original unedited image. What I'm going to do first of all is just click here to stop recording now that we've finished, and then we'll just revert the image back to its original status like so. So there's the unedited version. Let's scroll back to the top here and press the play button to apply all of these options to the shot like so. And once it gets to the stop, you get the offer to draw your feathered elliptical marquee. So click stop, and then click here to grab the elliptical marquee tool, set a feather of around about 80. So let's click in the middle here, hold down the Alt key and draw from the central point, and I can then choose a marquee that suits the corners of my image. I'm making sure that my subject is visible, let go of the mouse and let go of the Alt key. There's the marquee. So what we can do now is click to carry on playing the action, and it will carry on after the stop that we created to then create the mask and invert it to create our elliptical marquee effect like so. As a finishing touch, I've just reduced the opacity of this layer here to 52% for a more subtle vignette corner effect. And you could quickly open up any of the other photographs in our series and apply this color contrast and vignette action to each shot, and you can customize the vignette effect by drawing your own elliptical marquee when you get to the stop area of the action. So that's another more advanced way of creating actions. And a quick last word, if you click here, you've got the little flyout window, and you can change the mode to button mode, and there you've got the actions we created. There's crop and resize with a red option, or color and contrast and vignette with an orange option, so you can apply the actions in the click of a button. And of course there's other things to explore as well. You have got lots of other sets that we haven't seen before, like commands or image effects, and you can just click here to load those in, and you can see things like age photo, light rain, etc. So there's lots of actions to explore and experiment with.